This is why thousands of people are switching to Pure Talk for their cellular service.
I always assumed that using a bigger provider meant better coverage. It turns out that it's the same network.
And I keep the same phone number.
And you save a bunch of money.
We have a foreigner family, and we save about $70 a month.
With plans at $30 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data. Learn more at puretalk.com. Pure Talk. Simply smarter wireless.
GetPureTalk.com.
The Eric Thompson Show. Passionate conservative fighting to preserve our constitutional rights.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
A Marine Corps veteran and family man whose life's creed is faith, family, and country. Join Eric today as he covers current events from a conservative worldview. Now, here's your host, Eric Thompson.
And good morning. Welcome to another Eric Thompson Show podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm doing this here on StreamYard also, so a little bit of video so you guys can see the websites I'm looking at. But if you want to get a hold of me, head over to the website, eric-thompson-show.com, eric-thompson-show.com. I am a political writer, so I have hundreds of articles over there. I'm immersed in politics, and I have so much to say that I'm not going to say most of it, so that way you can still have a weekend. But thank you for listening to this podcast. What I thought I would do today, it's Saturday, March 19th, is to take you through the reason why I believe the United States of America needs to exit its role as the global police officer. That it needs to start to focus on the United States first, because the United States is in a spiral right now. Now, we are comprised of still a base of Christians, patriots, military veterans. We still love America, and there's enough of us. I don't know if we're still the silent majority, but there's still probably about half the country that still wants to live under liberty. But our numbers are shrinking because of education and immigration. And when the media and when the establishment gets Americans staring at Ukraine, while millions of people just poured across our border, where there's rapes, there's increase in child porn, there's all kinds of variables, national debt, fentanyl, then there comes a point where you're like, our house is not in order, so why are we looking at other people's homes? Our house has a roof that's leaking, the pipes have broken, there's fighting in the family, but we're trying to tell the people down the street not to squabble. I served in the Marine Corps with the Desert Storm. I understand helping people. I understand helping people as a Christian. But helping people when your life is a mess, it's not logical, it's counterproductive, and it's kind of arrogant. So I thought we would go over some of the forces that are at work that are destroying our nation as people are focusing on Ukraine and other nations. So let's start with number one. The Great Reset is underway. This used to be considered a conspiracy. But if you go to the World Economic Forum website, it's not a conspiracy to them. You go to weforum.org. What the Great Reset is, it's based out of the World Economic Forum, which started 50 years ago. And here are three of their goals. Three main components. Number one is they want to steer the markets toward fairer outcomes. To this end, governments should improve coordination, tax, regulatory, fiscal policy, upgrade trade arrangements, and they want to create a condition for something called stakeholder economy. Start looking in even your state government's websites. You're going to see it all over the place in corporations. They're going to something called a stakeholder economy, which means everybody should have a say about everything. Corporations shouldn't try to make money anymore. That shouldn't be the main priority. It should be where everybody gets a couple pennies. Everybody gets a participation trophy. The second goal is they want to ensure that investments are going towards equality and sustainability. And third is they want to harness the innovations of the fourth industrialized revolution to support public good. And they want to make sure that there's equity in everything. What's required in this then is that the American capitalistic system has to be deconstructed. So the Great Reset is underway. There's something called BlackRock Financial. They are the ones that are controlling tens of trillions of dollars. And what they're doing is that you will be graded on something called an ESG score in the future. Not a credit score. Banks are already doing this. So if you go to get a loan or open a business and you need your licenses, the authorities are going to say, well, let's see what your ESG score is. How do you post online about environmental issues? Are you a Green New Deal guy? Are you supporting that? Are you supporting going to zero emissions? Oh, no, you don't? Oh, you're a risk. Because banks may not loan to you, the BlackRock, and they may not give you a mortgage or anything because you're against the environment. So bad E score. Social justice. Oh, you're against Black Lives Matter. You're against wokeness. You're against critical race theory. You got a bad social justice score. Guess we can't give you the loan after all. I guess we can't open your bank account for you after all. Governance. You're not working with the government to try to ensure that the culture goes toward a meatless society, and that the government can help fix the wrongs of the culture. You're not for public-private partnerships. Oh, you got a bad G score. Well, I guess you're just not going to be able to travel after all because we, the government, decided that you're at risk. So the Great Reset is underway. Their goal, 2030, is when they want to have a lot of this put in place. Remember that date because it's going to sound familiar as I bring up here the second thing that is against us externally. We'll get to things internally here in a second. Is the United Nations has also a 2030 goal. And I'll bring it up here on the website. This one is over at sdgs.un. These are the goals that the United Nations are actively promoting policies and nations and decisions that will advance these. By 2030, the global governance is going to do everything they can by redistributing wealth, by going to maybe a digital currency, getting off the dollar. Number one, they think they can have no poverty, and they're going to do all they can to make that happen globally. It's about equity, forced equity, taking from people that have and given to people who don't have around the world. So they expect no poverty, no hunger. They want health around the world. They want quality education worldwide, quality, gender equality. We got to have the LGBT2 plus Q, whatever, globally. Clean water globally. Clean energy globally. Decent work globally. Industry and innovation globally. Reduced inequalities. It goes on. Climate action, life below the water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships were the goals. They want all this by 2030. So you have the Great Reset by 2030. They're working through Dr. Fauci, the Great Reset, John Kerry, Bill Gates, and hundreds of financial institutions that are going to be judging you by your ESG score and not your credit score in the near future unless we stop it. So these are two 2030 goals. These are two things we have to deal with, and that's why you're seeing things accelerating quickly. Third thing, immigration. This is one of my two hot buttons because besides having the United Nations and besides having the Great Reset, all these globalists, because I said Fauci just spoke. So did Xi Jinping from China. So you had the communists and Fauci help open up the 2022 Great Reset Conference in Davos, Switzerland. Think about all of the people that you don't like in politics, all of the people that are just trying to destroy our country, have their hands in the Great Reset. And they seriously believe by 2030 they can deconstruct, tear down our governmental system, and start to see equity going across the board. And the United Nations is doing the same thing through their organization. What's part of the plan of the Great Reset in the United Nations 2030 goals is to have massive migration from Africa up to Europe and from the whole world into the United States. Right now we have people coming across our border from Russia, from Ukraine, from Iran, from Somalia, from China, from India, from Mexico, from all over the world. 150 different nations, people are pouring in. According to New York Post, last year, U.S. made 1.9 million migrant or illegal alien arrest. They didn't catch 30 to 50%. So there's close to 3 million people or more that were compelled either by the United Nations, which we know has been providing debit cards, prepaid debit cards to help finance people's migration, or NGOs, non-governmental organizations, or George Soros's money. 3 million people had the nerve to come to our border to try to get in and by bypassing our immigration process. And most of them we didn't, at least probably 1 million we didn't catch at all. So immigration has to be stopped as far as I'm concerned. No asylum. If you took away asylum and you took away all payments to illegal aliens, they go home. They don't even come up to the border. It's that simple. All these ideas, if you take away asylum when they get up here, we want asylum. We don't have asylum. It's not a global requirement. It's something that our Congress passed twice since the 50s. It can be ended. We say, you know what? We have no idea who's in our country. 30 to 40 million people world, which it's none of your business, but guess what? We're going to fix our nation first, so nobody's coming in that we don't know anymore. And we can't help you, and we're going to stop the inflow, and we're going to deport people that are not here. We're going to take our military, and we're going to use the buses and the transportation vehicles, and we're going to help exit people out. Any other way, if we're going to leave people in the country having children through birthright citizenships and chain migration, then it doesn't matter all of the arguments, all the memes and everything that people are doing online. But yeah, record number of illegal aliens were brought in the country because of DHS Secretary Mayorkas, who is a terrible human being if you are pro-America. Terrible. Seriously, this guy is a disaster. All he does is they keep thinking of ways to get around immigration laws. Well, we're going to use our prosecutorial discretion. We're going to give temporary protected status to these people, which is like a pseudo amnesty. We're just going to keep passing all these laws. We're going to ignore the directive to start putting people back in Mexico for the remain in Mexico policy. Immigration, education are our two big problems here. And we also have, this is from Fox News today, or yesterday. Fauci's warning, remember, he's part of the Great Reset. The Americans could face more lockdowns amid the spread of a new COVID-19 variant. In September of 19, before COVID-19 hit the world, they did a simulation. The globalists did let's do a test scenario on what if a virus, like a COVID-19, what if a virus hit the world? How would we react? And then 3 months later, it hits. And Fauci is part of the group that actually funded the gain of function research 5 to 6 years prior to it hitting. And then even the Obama administration said, you need to stop. And then when the Trump administration got in and they didn't really know what was going on, Fauci went and got refunding and permission to proceed. And now here we are. But Fauci's back. Hey, just want you to know, you might have to put the mask back on. You might have to lock down again. Just want you to know. Because the Great Reset was kicked off by COVID. And it's infuriating. So that's what Fauci's saying. Hey, just might need to come back. All right, the Build Back Better bill and the type of agenda, the goals that the left are pushing are basically part of this Great Reset and this deconstruction of the American system, capitalistic system. The Rules for Radical, put out by Saul Alinsky, had a lot of these in them, and he actually mentored Hillary Clinton. She wrote her thesis paper about him. He was a radical city organizer in Chicago. Barack Obama mentions him a lot and used his material to do his city organizing in Chicago. But this is just to give you an idea what was in the Build Back Better bill. These are some of the goals that the left is pushing. This is when the bill that it got stopped because of Senator Manchin. They want to extend child tax credits. So they want to give an extra $250, $300 a month for families. They want $550 billion in climate action and environmental justice. They want to give historic investments in affordable housing. They want to give rent assistance. Now, as I go through this list, doesn't this sound like socialism or Marxism? Doesn't this sound like precursor to communism? The government is the nanny state. Well, here's some extra child tax credits. Here's money from us, the government, that took it from taxpayers, and we're going to redistribute it to you. We're going to redistribute $550 for Civilian Climate Change Corps. We're going to give a climate justice block grants. We're going to force in green new jobs, environmental justice through taxpayers' money from the government. We're going to give money to help people pay rent. Government subsidizing housing. Here's this one that'll make your head spin. They put in a universal pre-K system. The government wants to have access to the children starting at 3 and 4 with free school. That would give them 6 million children from the time they're 3. They could be pushing LGBT, Black Lives Matter, critical race theory, everything. So then the government would have access to your children from 3, and if they go to junior college, to 23. So they basically would have access to the kids the entire time they're growing up and maturing. They want to strengthen labor rights. They'll basically tell companies what you can and cannot do. Extends deportation protection for 5 years. DACA. Yeah, you guys are up here working. Yeah, we're not going to allow the immigration laws to actually be enforced. This is why we need to deconstruct our federal government. What does that mean? When you think of an erector set, remember the Lego sets when you would build up a house or a building, one block at a time? When it's time to tear it down, what do? You take the blocks off one at a time. That's what we need to do. We need to reduce the federal government back down to where it started, where it can't have the ability to implement and to force through these radical agenda, these goals, because by closing the Department of Education, moving it back to the states, and getting the kids taught to love America and to be good citizens, they're not going to be so prone through these radical union-run schools to be LGBT. Everybody is all of a sudden now there's a spike. Everybody is some diverse sexuality or gender. But it comes from pure peer pressure and the public school system. So we need to start deconstructing the federal government. And this is another example. CNN, the U.S. House. Okay, this one's mind-boggling too. The government wants to be the nanny state. So they passed the Crown Act. Listen to this. The legislation. This is our federal government trying to tell 50 million people that there's a new law that's going to ban race-based hair discrimination in employment and those participating in federally assisted programs, housing programs, and public accommodations. So if somebody has some funky hair and you have a business or you're running an organization and everyone is in a uniform, and someone who's a Black American wants to have their hair different, then it would be illegal for you to say you must look, your uniform and the way you groom must conform to everybody else here at work. That will become a race-based discrimination if you were to ask people, and this is targeting Black Americans, that you would have to create and respect an open world for natural hair. The bill even says that would include locks, cornrows, twists, braids, bantu knots, and afros. Can you believe that? But that's what you do when you're a massive government. Last one here. Because of the COVID lockdowns, because of the open borders, because of the brainwash kids through the education system, because of the growing perversion in our country, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported a 35% increase in child porn from 20 to 21. Thank you, Dr. Fauci, for locking down the nation. You can see a lot of my articles over on trendingpolitics.com and also my website, eric-thompson-show.com. But I wrote about this and there's other great authors over on Trending Politics. One story that I'm going to end with here with you. Because of the open borders, because they want to give people opportunities to get amnesty, 3 African nationals raped a 14-year-old girl that they spoke to on TikTok. What do you think they got for that? Well, they got a year in prison, but it was put on hold pending if the immigration sends them home, then they don't have to serve any time. So the 14-year-old girl's life is damaged, and the 3 guys who shouldn't have been in the country will get the government possibly to fly them home so then they can sneak back in again later. That's where we're at in our country. And that is what's frustrating. My 2 sponsors, you heard the one, Pure Talk USA. If you want to cut your cell phone bill as a family around $800 a year, you can do it. My wife and I did about a year and a half ago. I got tired of paying high cell phone bills, and they were inconsistent because when I went over on my data, my bill would skyrocket with T-Mobile. So I went to Pure Talk, getpuretalk.com. And what happens is you will choose your package. They'll mail you your SIM cards. You put them in your existing phones, so you don't need to get new phones. You don't have to get new phone numbers. You turn your phones back on, all of a sudden you're on Pure Talk USA. What happens then is you still are on the same 5G towers. You still have the same coverage. You still have the same Wi-Fi hotspots. Everything you've been using, everything's the same, except when you get your bill, it's going to be around 50% less. Do what hundreds of thousands of other individuals and families have done by going to getpuretalk.com, getpuretalk.com. If you go over on your plan 1 month, they don't charge you for the data. So your bill will be the same every month. Customer service is in the Atlanta, Georgia area. CEO is a U.S. veteran, and Pure Talk's a top-rated wireless company by Consumer Affairs. And the nice thing is when you go to getpuretalk.com, when you go to checkout, use my promo code FLS. You'll get 50% off your first month. Getpuretalk.com, promo code FLS, 50% off your first month, which means your first bill is basically a non-issue. My other sponsor, MyPillow.com, he has great sales going this weekend, up to 90% off. Go to mypillow.vip because you're very important people. mypillow.vip. Make sure you use a promo code FLS, the same as Pure Talk, to get your savings. You can also go to mypillow.com/FLS. Make sure you use the promo code FLS to get your huge discounts at checkout. But to summarize all of this, there's a lot of things in motion right now that are deconstructing our country in a negative way. People are pouring in. They're coming over on visas, taking our jobs. Bill Gates and Chinese nationals are buying up our real estate and our corporations. Most of the meat processing plants are owned by Chinese nationals. So everything's tearing down our nation for the goals of the United Nations and the Great Reset. Our only solution, the only solution we have as Americans is to say, stop the madness. Nobody's coming in. We don't have asylum, so you can't fill out an application. We don't have these work programs. We don't have visas. Stop. And we're going to figure out who the 40 million people are, and we're going to stop sending checks to anybody in the country that's not a citizen. And we're going to open the doors swinging one way out, and we're going to use our military and all of our resources to bus you out if you want to leave here, illegal aliens. Then when the dust settles and we have an idea how artificial intelligence and robotics is going to affect our nation, we can reopen. Until then, we do not need a Department of Education. We do not need EPA. We do not need anything at the federal government, so we're going to reduce it 25% year one, 25% year two, cut the budget, work on a balanced budget amendment, put in term limits for people in the Congress. That is the only way that we save our constitutional republic. It can be done. It has to be done, or we will be a hodgepodge of Marxist confusion with a government that's way, way, way too big and will destroy our liberties. So thank you so much for listening. This has been the Eric Thompson Show. Again, my two sponsors, mypillow.com/FLS. Huge savings this weekend. And getpuretalk.com, promo code FLS to get 50% off your first month. Check out my website, eric-thompson-show.com. Also, head over to magabook.com. That's my social media platform. All right, guys, take care. I'll talk to you on Monday.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all of your support. At MyPillow, we not only have pillows, but we have hundreds of products, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We're offering the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have this exclusive offer on the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. We also have the queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now only $24.98 with your promo code. And we have the king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer.
0148.